3 or so months back, we announced the winners of our AI investment fund, where we gave 5 businesses who had submitted their AI-powered ideas $20,000 apiece to see that idea come to life. Pengana was one of the winners, and back then I spoke to Varun to find out what that idea was about, how it would drive ROI, and what we were going to do to make it come to life. Now, a few months on, we've done that. It exists. So I'm back with Varun here in the lovely Pengana offices. Thank you for having us in.
No worries. Lovely to have you in.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, so I want to just do a second part of the conversation we started off a few months back. Just now that it's live in production, talk about what it is, how it's helping your business, and what the process to get it live looked like. So to set the scene, I'll read what our dev team tells me we created.
Sure.
You can feel free to correct me if any points are wrong. We created an AI Outlook draft email assistant, which meant that we developed and delivered an AI-powered Outlook email response assistant designed to help staff efficiently manage customer inquiries while securely handling sensitive and personalized information. The key capabilities: the solution can generate draft email responses, retrieve and reference relevant attachments, use contextual customer data securely, improve response consistency and speed, and maintain reliability and data security standards. Okay, does that all sound true?
Yep, that's absolutely spot on.
Facts. Great. Okay, tell me in your own words, rather than what I'm forcing down your throat there, what problem did this solve? Just going back to kind of first principles, why does this matter?
Sure. So the easiest way to think about it is a lot of people know what to do to get money in, right? But I think a portion of the business, or I guess in the funds management space, is also retaining money. Like, a lot of people forget that you actually have to service the clients that you've brought in, because things change all the time, right? You know, there's massive cyclical factors. There's obviously changes in the macro environment, and especially in the political environment. I'm sure you can imagine
with the recent budget announcements. Yes, absolutely.
Unfortunately, I won't comment on those,
sure.
But
they are a thing, and they do drive questions.
Exactly, absolutely. Like, if I could just use that as an example, like off the back of that, you'll have people starting to change or consider different investment options, right? And as a fund manager with multiple strategies across multiple asset classes, you have to sort of be poised to take on those inquiries. Now, typically what you can do, if you can imagine, when events like that happen, typically there's an announcement that comes out, or certain asset managers take a certain stance towards it. And if it's like a common shared goal between the firm, like it's mutually agreed upon, if you can imagine.
What you're going to say, a template response, here's how we see this.
Like, yep. So it's like, if any media or publication reaches out to you, this is the official wording that you should be using. So essentially, you can use that template to start addressing queries, because more often than not, different clients will ask different versions or different variations of essentially that query. Now, the simplest way to think about it is, if you have 100 people reach out to you, right, as one person, you can only do so much, right? Because at the end of the day, you are human. But this is sort of where the technology side starts helping, because now you can start addressing these queries if you already have the answer, instead of you waiting on like the outcome, or you waiting on, or like, you waiting on spending time drafting something that you already have pre-made access to. You can then, I guess, this is where sort of the solution, which First Focus helped build, comes in, where, you have this drafting bot which draws on that data and essentially restructures it based on that response.
Yeah.
Now, the beauty of this sort of thing is it actually reads based on the specific client question. Now, it'll answer as best as possible. Like, there'll obviously be certain things that it can't answer, which is, like internal tools that we don't give it access to for obvious, privacy and data governance reasons. But as best as it can answer in terms of that generic template, it provides us the answer. And therefore, like, after that, it's just a thing of, if we need to make it more technical, like there may be aspects of it that it hasn't addressed, wherein involving client data specifically, or regarding their performance or their returns, that's where sort of we step in.
Human in the loop. come
Yeah,
and add to it.
exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Just to make sure that, you're still being serviced by a person at the end of the day. Like, we still have oversight on what goes out. So
But you've got a tailored review ready draft,
Pretty
just
much.
significantly decreasing the time it takes to actually respond.
So at the same time, like mind you, we're still addressing the client query. It's just we're optimizing it, right? When we're being more responsive, we can actually start servicing a lot more clients, and eventually start reducing our response time or our turnaround time. Like, a lot of people on average, like even if you do it for a normal company, right, you typically wait 3 to 5 days for a response. There'll be some exceptions to that rule, but typically the average, like I've used a lot of products, and I'm sure you have as well, and sometimes there is just like a large turnaround time. And I guess trying to cut that down as much as possible to make the client actually feel like that we actually listen, like we respond. Like, I don't want it to be like, oh, I sent in a question on Monday, the answer came next Monday, or it came by Friday. Like,
Yeah,
clients
without
are-
having to sort of give away the quality element.
Of course. And I think that's kind of like, especially with financial services, right? Like, the market changes every day. So some clients where it's queries like maybe about a deceased estate or just like a standard redemption, right? Like, they're going to be a lot more pressing because they're going to each have individual circumstances that, although I may not be aware of, but my responsiveness can help assist them better, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the last thing you want to do is create more stress for these people if that's what they're going through.
Of course, like, because at the end of the day, they're using our, like, the Pengana product, right? Like, they're using our funds, right? And we want to make sure that end to end, we provide them a smooth and frictionless experience. That's essentially the main goal.
Just quickly, not meaning to interrupt, but Core is the future of managed services. We have essentially launched a service that is productivity as a service. If you want to know more about how you can get the most out of your investment in AI and automation, get in touch and we'll be happy to talk. Let's talk about the process to roll it out.
Sure.
So, how important was it to get the data piece right? Because every AI project is reliant on good data, rubbish in, rubbish out. So what was your experience making sure the data governance piece was strong?
I was mentioning it too before briefly, where essentially the very first thing we did before we even started the project was the data governance considerations, because you can at any time be given questions regarding personal sensitive information. Some people do send documentation regarding it, like ID and stuff. We don't, like, the bot is not, like, essentially we made it such that the bot does not take in any personal or sensitive information. We filter it through like a PII, which is like a personal identification. Like, it's essentially a redactor of sorts. Essentially it hides the personal information. So there'll be a stage where anything that is signaled to be a name, or like in the structure of a name, that's redacted before it's even provided to the AI bot. So quite literally what the AI receives is like blank lines. Like, it'll be like, when there's an email signature, for example, how it says thanks and then the person's name, it'll just, like, the bot will read it as thanks blank. That's it. So none of that information goes to them. It doesn't tell you your bank detail. Like, some people email about bank details, and it's like there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong if it goes into the wrong hands. So just as like the first thing is like there's just one giant filter of saying nothing gets passed in. Then when the draft is generated, it's always generated as like a hi blank, or like it'll be a generic phrase like hi investor. And then, to address your query of, and then the generic query, it'll be answered. And then in terms of specifics, like even if you had something specific, it will not include the dollar amount or the bank details, just more so just address the actual query. That's sort of the point.
Okay. And so presumably in SharePoint for you guys, you've got, the metadata right, the naming conventions right, the data, the permission structure, sensitivity, all that sort of stuff. Great. Yep. Let's talk about so the building out of the actual assistant itself. Was there, like, just talk me through kind of the key milestones, presumably so planning workshop, and then what were the milestones along the way?
Sure. So I guess the very first one was the workshop regarding the data governance. That was one in itself, and we spent like, I think, that focus on that period. And then after that, it was just building, right? So I guess the first iteration was making sure we come up with a suitable option. Now, because it's multiple people use that one inbox, it's a shared mailbox, you got to be careful in how you build it, because there was a point of consideration where if the bot is running simultaneously across multiple accounts, then it may cause double ups,
Okay.
and that starts putting unnecessary load on the bot, as well as just doubling up queries. Like, you don't want one person to send a query and another person to send the same query if you run the bot at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
That was a potential risk, and like that sort of affects the client, because you can start seeing like it doesn't look good on you if two people are responding to the one query. Like it's like, if it's like, oh, it's not meant to be similar, but like if the query looks similar, you can start seeing like, hey, you start questioning these things, and that may rub off like the wrong way for some people. That, like, again, we still want to make sure it's personalized, right? So we may have our own iterations, but like the generic part of it is that like the structure is the same of the query being addressed. So there will be times where, it like two queries may look the same, right? The responses generated may be similar, not the same, obviously, but it may be similar. And again, you don't want to make it look like to the client that they're just talking to a bot, because at the end of the day, there's still people behind this, right? So yeah, that was a big part. Like, that was the biggest part that we had to, I think we had 2 or 3 iterations of that.
Okay.
Where we just had to address like how we building this out.
Yeah, okay.
And at each stage, like even the AI model that we're using had to be in consideration, because again, just the data governance piece was so critical for us. We had to make it like in an Azure or Microsoft surrounding, just because of the security it provides us. And
which LLM did you run with in the end?
it was for Azure Foundry, and I think it's the Microsoft build.
Okay,
like,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and presumably, so you had the sort of architecture sort of check-ins, how are we actually designing this after the data piece was set?
So we actually did this really cool thing beforehand. We just built out the whole model of how we want it to work at each stage. So essentially, this is why the iteration process was quite useful, because we had built out like a couple of designs that we wanted for the model to work as. And then we ultimately decided at the very end, like after that iterative process, where this is how the query is received, this is what we'll go to. From here, it'll go to, the actual, like from the so it's received in the inbox, we trigger the flow, goes to the redactor sends it on to the AI, returns it back to the redactor to confirm everything's good, sends it back to us. That's sort of the flow.
Right.
That was the general process in
Don't
my
suffer
head
in
that I
silence.
had, and
Let's
that's
fix
what
this.
we sort of built out.
And you knew that was what you were thinking when you submitted the AI investment fund entry, or not at that point?
No, so it was at that point. That's what I figured would work the best after, because again, that's where sort of first focus helped, right? Because it was that input of sort of the considerations in terms of where in the workflow it would be useful. Obviously the PR, like I knew that we had to use redactor, but obviously the insights of which ones to use, right? Which ones are actually useful based on my consideration, or like,
Tailoring what could be quite a broad concept to your specific needs and your client's specific needs.
Yeah,
Got
pretty
it. Okay.
much. And it becomes very messy, because it's kind of the issue of having so many options. Like, you don't know what to choose, right? Like at one point, like it's like, just knowing too much can also be really bad for you, because then it's like, now you're like, what do I choose? So that's like that was probably like one of the biggest problems I was having, because I was like, everything looks so good. How do I choose what's the best one? Right? So I guess that's sort of the input that like Costa.
Yeah, our head of software development, Costa, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was able to provide, and like that input on like, this is what this consideration would do, but this is what this would do. And I'd be like, I'd personally have to weigh it up.
Yeah, you can make an informed choice based on this expertise giving you that insight.
Absolutely. And yeah, like I think he was really important to the final model, because, his inputs on the delays we may face, because again, I had an idea that got changed based on, because again, my initial thought was anything that comes in should be run like that, and I had failed to even consider that if it's running across multiple accounts, what happens then, right? Something as
I
simple
think it
as
sounds
that.
like a fairly reasonable thing to not consider. It's a, yeah, again, you're kind of doing this for the first time in this business, right? And to your
Absolutely.
point, there's a lot of nuances to these
Of
things.
course.
Yeah.
And it's like it's something so simple, but like yeah, I'd completely overlooked it. And I guess that's what I meant by like the valuable insights. Like
Yeah, okay.
even something like again, it's a pretty simple concept, right? Like what happens if it's running across two accounts? But I just failed to consider it. So that's why, like that input was very valuable. And I think that's what made the process a lot more smoother because there was like active feedback going on to my suggestions of what I'd like. And then it was like we built on top of that with solutions as I kept discussing it. So once we had sort of the mind map sorted, like once we had nailed what the mind map of flows was going to look like of that whole process, we did not like it did not take long to build it after
That's
that.
awesome. I love it because when we started this AI investment fund idea, the pitch was, you've got the ideas, we've got the know-how.
Yeah.
Together, we're going to make something pretty cool happen. I love that you just basically said that's exactly what did happen. So I love that. Talk to me about adoption. So there is no ROI without adoption by end users. In this scenario, was it actually impossible for the end users to opt out, or did they have to still want that draft to have the draft and to use it?
No, yeah. So, like I said, like not every query can be answered by a generic template, right? Some are very personalized. So that aspect will always exist. Like that is never going away, right? So the end user, like which is myself and my team, we can still do the manual reply. Like if it's a personalized response, like if it's something more pressive or something sensitive that we don't want to run through the bot, it's at our discretion that we can just reply to the person directly. That option will always exist. Like that's never going away anytime soon. It's just more so when it comes to moments in time where you start getting like larger queries, like it's, for example, like
bulk moments, post budget, as you said.
post budget, like end of financial year, like how many people are gonna ask me when is my like tax statement coming out?
Heaps.
Like 100, like that. Like I can
Yeah.
guarantee it. Like I'm asking that question right now. Like when is my tax statement coming out? Right. So
It's like the 5th of June. Settle down.
exactly. So it's like it's gonna be soon. So there's gonna be these questions. Like it's just gonna start flooding the inbox, and it's like I want to make sure everyone gets those answers on time because when it's tax, everyone cares, right? Like you want your answers quickly because then you have to report to someone else who's most likely a tax agent or an accountant, and then they have to report to the ATO on your behalf. So it's like trying to make that process as smooth as possible is also like another priority. So just making sure that, we can do both the personalized and the quick stuff. That's just something I think that is just a benefit. Like it's
How
sort
many
of the
people?
end
How
goal.
many people are sharing that mailbox?
Currently it's 3.
Okay, and of those 3 people, are they all like? What's the feedback been from them? That they're really enjoying and utilizing the fact this is half done for them or completely done potentially for them to review and then add their touch if required and send.
So there was a bit of skepticism in the beginning. I think slowly but surely we've started using it a lot more as we start realizing or start seeing repetitive queries. We're trialing it out actually as a fun fact for a new raise that we're currently doing. So hopefully if that raise is successful, it'll come out the other end. And hopefully, like fingers
So that's
crossed.
when you're saying, hey, we've got this opportunity to invest, and you've pre-canned all the a whole bunch of facts, basically, frequently asked
essentially,
questions.
all the FAQs that we're allowed to respond to. Obviously, given there's personal oversight, there's a bit of sensitivity around the capital raise, but this is sort of that trial. I want to show that it works under stress conditions of like this is what we did for the raise. These are the queries we're getting. Like it can actually respond to this, this, and this. And mind you, we're well past the testing stage of what we did initially. So now this is the deployed model doing it without having been trained in it in prior responses. Remember, previously it was all generic, but again, like FAQs, as you said, are meant to be able to help those aspects of the raise. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like addressing the market, like your average, your retail, or your average wholesale guy that doesn't have an advisor, that he's not using all. I guess he doesn't have that competitive edge that you may gain from a financial advisor. So he's just reaching out to you, wanting to know. Some people are like they're just reaching out to you because they heard about the opportunity. Like, what can you provide them? Those type of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you can just have a generic, like,
Totally. I
You know,
mean, most websites would have them needing to go and find that information themselves. You're taking a
Exactly.
question and feeding that up.
exactly. So it's quite literally we're surfacing that option directly to them as long as they qualify under certain conditions. We obviously have to get
Yeah.
like, because again, not everyone can participate in this race, so you have to be careful on how you like pass out that information. But yeah,
All right. I got 2 questions left for you. One is, how are you tracking utilization? So, I mean, adoption is I was thinking about the people using it. Now I'm more thinking, how do you track how many emails have been created that have essentially been used in some form, like, altered if required or not, and gone out? Is that a number you're able to monitor and track?
so what like so the thing is this I like my suggestion came at a time when I had essentially gone through a raise myself, right? And that's essentially what I want to do. I want to use the previous raise as a comparison case. So how much I did manually myself then.
Yeah, okay.
And I like, again, from that would be like I can track, like I can go back and see how many emails I sent, right? And now, like the way the AI bot works is that there's a specific tag created every time we run through, like we run the bot on it. So I can then pull out from my inbox the number I've sent over this period of time in comparison to how many I sent back then
Okay.
by myself, like and the team, right? So comparing the two, I can start seeing this is the amount of emails I saved on sending, and like typically, like I've averaged it out. So that's how I did it. Like again, in the previous, I think the previous podcast that we did, I had told you how I'd sort of done the math on like,
That's right.
how much
Yep.
time I spent on a specific email. So if I just go in, see 3 people's worth of stuff and quite literally just multiply that average by those 3, like by the number of emails we have over this period,
Yep.
I'm going to get hopefully I get a healthy saving. We're still in that testing period. So
I'll be interested to come back and we'll have a chat with you at some point. Maybe I'll write a blog or something instead of forcing you to be on camera all the time. But that's great though. I love that you've got that analytical approach and you're looking to put some real science behind it.
yeah,
So that's awesome. I'll try and, I'll hit you up in a few months.
sure.
Okay, so off the back of a really positive experience, building out this AI powered tool with First Focus, given it went so well, what are you now? How are you feeling about AI and how you're going to use that in your role, or how the business could potentially use it?
I think we've barely scratched the surface because we've only started in like the one like in the one spot, which is obviously client service. But I think the future is untapped. Like I think you can potentially scale this out to the rest of the sales team. Like you can start using this with advisors, potentially even some of the institutional people. Well, like the aspect of the business where sales can get onboarded quite a bit with this. Like I know for a fact there's a couple of people in the firm that would benefit greatly just because of the amount of queries they get.
Yeah.
Especially during a raise. Like I can maybe I might not name drop, but
anyone in the business with a kind of a cyclical workload, right? To be able to just consistently deal with that.
Exactly. Like we, like for example, like the key people we have for a raise, now head of sales, like he gets bombarded with questions a lot. Like he's typically our key point of contact. Like he is the brain bank, and a lot of people come to him for questions, and sometimes it's repetitive for him as well. So even
how do you can it and put it out there?
Yeah, like quite literally, you could literally take. I wish I could do this, where you could just take his whole inbox of everything he's ever sent in the past. You could put it all together, and you could just.
I bet you can totally do that.
Yeah, like
that's a thing.
No,
sure.
of course, right? Like just to help him out, because there happen to be times where you just get constantly bombarded. When you're being pulled in so many directions, it's kind of gets hard. Like from any role in general. And I know that there's other parts of the business that absolutely will benefit from it.
Has I guess for the wider business, seeing this effectively rolled out, I imagine is probably got, like you said, some skepticism was in play. Do you feel like it's gone to some length, it's kind of just got rid of that, dismissive attitude. Like people are now going, oh, right, what's next?
Yeah,
okay.
sort of. Like I definitely think so. Again, like depending on the success of this, which I am pretty hopeful on, I think, like a strong case could be made for I guess improving, I guess revolutionizing other aspects of the business. And I think, well, we've actually already started having those conversations. Like we're already in the middle of a process where we're looking to roll it out for other aspects or other functions of the business in general. So we're tracking pretty well on that. And hopefully we do get something soon. But yeah,
He says,
so
hopefully. I hope my idea gets across the line. Cool. Okay.
absolutely.
Nice.
I hope, like, I'm pretty hopeful. I genuinely believe, like, I think the best part about working in a place like this is that all ideas are acceptable. Like there's no,
You'll be heard.
like I think it's a very entrepreneurial place where if you have an idea, pitch it. If enough people back you, you can roll with it.
And if the data backs you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like again, for example, I wouldn't typically be a person that would be here on a podcast, right? Like typically it'd be someone more senior. But this whole thing end to end was my idea, but it came with the backing of my manager. Like he backed me, he really liked the idea and he said, roll with it. And,
I love it so much because I keep talking about the idea of people who are running departments know the problems to solve.
Yeah.
And with this period in time, we have the tools now for you to solve about 80% of that. And as you mentioned, with Costa going, yes, but have you thought about this or that? And let's get it secure and redacted, etc. That last 20%, that's how we're helping businesses do more. So it makes all the sense in the world to me that you, at your level, are having this conversation because you can really make change now.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I really think it's like I said, it's a great place to work where you can fix things that are just wrong, like or that if you see a problem, you want to fix it, you have the capacity, go for it. That's the type of place it is, and you just get to do that stuff, which
I love that we're helping you also do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, on a serious note and a good way to end it is to say congrats to Pengana, congrats to you for submitting the idea, getting the funding, and helping us help you bring it to life, if that makes sense. It's really cool to see it come about. Thank you so much for both conversations now as well. And I get the sense that I'm probably going to hear that we're doing some more AI-powered work with you in the future.
I look forward to working with you.
Go on, mate. Thank you.
No, thank you.